Hello, everyone. Welcome to week 4. And hey, what better way to begin week 4 than with a speech assignment? um, I know that it seems like you just got one speech done, and now here I am giving you an assignment for another one. And it seems like that because that's exactly what's happening. Okay? In a 10-week public speaking class, we find ourselves doing speeches with relatively quick turnaround. Okay? So you did your narrative speech, and then now here I am assigning the informative, and the informative speech will be due at the end of week 5. So here I am in week 4 assigning this speech. It'll be due at the end of week 5. Essentially, we get a speech every 2 weeks now until the end of the semester, okay, with how this stuff works. So I wanted to walk you through the informative speech. It's the next one, and give you all of the ins and outs of that, okay, so that you can begin to move forward in getting ready for the speech. So first of all, this is an informative speech. So I'm not going to read the assignment sheet word for word, but you can see what I'm saying up here about how information is important. And so here are some of the details, all right? For your general topic, essentially what we say for an informative speech is it is informative. So, and I'm going to say more of this on this sheet here, but you're not supposed to persuade. So you avoid persuading your audiences at all costs here. You're just giving information. So for your topic, choose a person, place, thing, concept, event, something like that. And I've got some examples down here at the bottom of the page here, but you're not placing blame. You can't suggest actions to take or take sides, okay? You can just do an informative speech where you give us the information and your audience decides what they want to think about it, okay? Now, I will go into more depth with topic here in a minute. References. This is your first speech where you have to have references, okay? And by references, what I mean is you're going to have to do some research and cite some sources. Specifically, you have to cite 3 sources, okay? And you have to cite these sources orally, all right? They actually have to come out your mouth. And so I'm going to post an example informative speech for you to watch so you can see what these source citations look like. There are also some samples, I believe, in the textbook. I might be wrong about that, and to make sure that you have an example, I will post one, okay? But you're going to cite your sources orally. You're going to make sure they're in the text of your outline or your speaking notes, and you have to include a references page. So when you drop that final outline or version of your speaking notes into the Dropbox in D2L at the deadline, there needs to be a references page, okay? I have more detail on that here as well. We are now up to a 4 to 6 minute time limit. All right, so the first one was shorter than this. This one's a little longer, and yes, the next one's longer than even this one. So 4 to 6 minutes. If you will take the time to prepare, pick a topic that you care about or even interested in, and do what I'm asking you to organizationally with the sources and stuff like that, this time limit will be no problem, okay? This is worth more points. Here we have 150 points for this speech, so you're looking at about 15% of your final grade for this one. This is a big one, okay? And the next one's even bigger. The persuasive is the big one, okay? But we're not going to get ahead of ourselves. So right here, the main premise is, okay, professional, conversational, informative presentation about something that's interesting to you and that is relevant to the members of your audience. Now, what I find is that if it's interesting to you, your delivery of it will probably make it interesting and relevant to your audience, okay? So that's usually fine. If you're worried about that, let me know, all right? But, so here's just some examples, people or groups. So like I've had people do different bands. Like here's a history of a band. U2 was one that I had someone speak on. Here is Susan B. Anthony, okay? And you just sort of give almost a biography of these people. And that's fine. It's just information, okay? Places like the history of Australia, or let's take a look at this cool place, and you talk about that. The things is pretty vague, right? Something that is visible and tangible, okay? That's really what a thing is. And so if you wanted to do a speech on Legos, you can give the history of Legos. You can talk about what all is out there with these crazy customizable kits you can buy online. I don't know if you know this. I had a student give a speech on these, which is why it's here, that you can buy customized Lego kits from like just random, like me. I could build this particular thing. I could then write the plans up for it, and you could buy the plans, and I would like put a Lego set together and mail it to you with my plans, and you would put it together. It's pretty cool. I didn't know that was out there. So something like that is fine. Events, Dia de los Muertos, Mardi Gras, anything like that. Okay, all of that can be an informative speech or a concept. So now, please don't get too mad at me here for calling ADHD a concept. The reason why I put that here is because it's not tangible. Okay, it's not an idea, right? I mean, ADHD is real. It's a thing. But it's also not something like I can show you a Lego. I can't like break off some ADHD and like show it to you. Okay, I could physically do something maybe, but so ADHD. I've had other conceptual speeches on, here is how different cultures view. I've had so many. It's hard to just pick one. Here's how. I've had an informative speech on karma. Okay, so they just got up and talked about karma, and karma is a concept. Okay, whether you buy into it or not, like that it would fit there. Okay, so how-to speeches are not allowed. No demonstrations, no how-tos. Okay, I know that those are probably referenced in your book, and we don't have time to do those. Okay, now good things to ask yourself as you are getting ready for this speech. Okay. Here we go. What will the audience members find interesting about this subject? What do I find interesting? Okay. The crossroads of those two things make a good informative speech. All right. So what is something new I can bring to this topic? That can be hard to answer, but this might be something you can go, oh, you know what? Everybody knows that Legos are fun, but what they don't know about Legos are fill in the blank, right? So something like that. Yeah. Yes. Sorry, I lost my place on the screen. Are there at least 3 credible sources to support this project? So I go into a little more depth in this sheet here about credible sources, but you need 3 credible sources. Okay. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that it's an academic journal article, but is there, like, if you're in your speech on Legos, it's not going to be credible to interview your 3-year-old sibling, okay? Even though I know that they would be like, Legos are awesome, and it would be so cute, and our hearts would melt and explode from all of the adorableness that's there. You need to find something a little more credible. So there are all sorts of articles on Lego as a business, as their philosophy, all sorts of stuff like that. Okay, so that would be good credible stuff. So 3 credible sources, and then, can I present on this topic without attempting to persuade people toward a specific course of action? Okay, so in my Lego speech, I can talk all about Legos, but I have to not say, and so you should go play with them. Because all of a sudden, it's a persuasive speech. Okay, so I'm just going to talk about the history of Legos. We all know about them. They're a staple of our society. They're a staple of our culture. Let's talk about it. Okay, am I willing to allow people to come to their own conclusions? So this question is here. So I mentioned karma earlier up here for a concept. The student that I had who was doing the informative speech on karma really wanted to get all of us to buy into and think this particular way. And I was like, you can't ask us that in an informative presentation. That's persuasive. If you want to do a persuasive speech on why we should all, live by the teachings of karma, then absolutely. But now it has to be this. And so they really wanted to do the informative, so they did it, and they didn't persuade, and it worked out. Okay? So these are just some good questions to ask yourself. So here we are now. I break down the outline again on this one, just like I did for the narrative speech. Okay? So this is going to look pretty similar. You've got your introduction. You've got the body, right? The main point 1, main points 2 and 3, just giving you some general guidelines here. Stay neutral, don't persuade, give the conclusion, just like you had to for the narrative speech. And by the way, you will have feedback on your narrative speech before you have to do this, so you'll really know how what you did in the first speech can feed into this one or not, okay? And then your references, okay? You have to say your speeches out loud. Say your speeches, well, duh, say your speech out loud. Say your sources out loud in the speech, okay? Make sure they're integrated in the text of the outline and presented at the end of the outline on a references page. APA or MLA is fine. You know what? I'll even take Chicago if you know Chicago. As long as it's a relevant source citation, I'm fine. Okay? So folks, that's that. I've got a few cautions for you here. Don't give deep information in the introduction or conclusion, actually. Make sure you're citing your stuff properly. Again, if you're in doubt, cite it out. And then here's just another sort of breakdown at the end of the speech here, 4 to 6 minutes. If you do everything I'm asking you to do, getting to 4 minutes won't be hard, okay? For some of you, keeping it under 6 might be difficult. That's me, okay? I'm at 11 minutes assigning a speech right now. So here we go. So remember, you have to do the speech performance. This is all stuff that's typical for a speech assignment for us here. You're going to do your notes just like you have been, dress. Still no podium for this. You can still, I'd like you to hold your notes, but if you set them on a table in front of you, that's fine. I just don't want you behind a podium or anything like that. But then one last consideration is a presentation aid, okay? It is optional for this speech. If you decide it would be so much easier to prepare a PowerPoint or a Prezi or a Google slideshow, or you want to have a handout for your audience and hand it out to them, by all means do that. But it is optional, okay? And then I give you some guidelines here to do that should you choose to do that. I'm not going to go into detail on these because, let me just say this, I'd rather you not do a presentation aid for this speech. I'd rather you focus on getting the information, getting your delivery, your organization, and learning to cite sources vocally and orally in your speech before moving into dealing with the lovely beast that a presentation aid can be, okay? So if you want to do it, go ahead. I give you the stuff to do here. There'll be a Dropbox and detail to put that in, okay? Technological issues, same thing, and I think I forgot to delete this. I had this down here and moved it. So ignore this. This will not be in the one that's posted in D2L, okay? In fact, I'll delete it right in front of you. Oh, it's like online teaching behind the scenes. There that was. That's the director's cut, okay? So, folks, that's the informative speech. This week we have a board where we're going to begin to brainstorm topic ideas, okay? So be thinking of something you're interested in. It can be just about anything you saw up there, and we can turn it into a cool, interesting, informative speech. I look forward to seeing you in the boards and brainstorming some topics. Bye-bye.